what we typically do is we reach out to all our suppliers in that market area, start getting some prices. Kind of like when you go to buy a car, you go out there, you test drive a few cars. Let's see what the market's out there. Let's see if there's a price point we like. If we don't like that price point, is there a price point that we really like, a little lower or a little higher? So let's set up some parameters before we determine our buying habit. And from there, we can determine if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year prices work best for us. And again, the decision's not wrong if you get all the variables out there. I don't like to buy on fear. That's a big part of what I try to do. Unfortunately, right now, there's a little bit to be fearful of. So I don't want to panic buy. At the same token, I don't want to run out there and get scared and try to buy right away. So I prefer to kind of put the numbers out there. Let's see where we are. Let's maybe even buy a little bit. You can buy in pieces as well. You can buy a third of what you use. You can buy a half of what you use. You don't have to buy it all. And that way you're not stuck into one, what do we call it? The stock portfolio approach, right? You buy a little bit of a company today, a little bit, and then 6 months later, the market falls a little more, you buy a little more of that stock. So I'm buying it in 6 or 7 different spots. So that at the end of the day, I hopefully WACOG into a nice price. I don't really want to buy everything today, especially if I'm using a lot of energy. I want to buy a portion, fix my cost for maybe 50% of my load. Then as time moves on, we'll try to hedge up and hedge a little more depending on where prices go. So there's many ways to do this. I mean, that's the one thing I think a lot of companies don't understand is there's a million ways to do this. The question is, what do you want to do? Right? And I think a lot of companies can't answer that question, sadly, right? What is it, when you're selling a product, what does your cost of energy need to be? I have one company that's already bought out through 2027 because he knows what it costs to make a product and he knows what price he wants. And when we get there, he buys it. He doesn't care if the market goes up or not. That's the price he wants. And if we had more of those customers that had that thought in mind, I think it would be a lot better. There would be a lot of better opportunities because most people just say, I want it cheap. Well, the price is $14, $12 cheap, but you know what I mean? Like cheap is relative. I mean, cheap is just kind of out there. I mean, if it's unfortunately when it's $10, it's not cheap anymore. So that's one of the things we try to say to our clients, or we try to say to them, what works for you? What price works for you? And if it works for you, why are we trying to make it cheaper? Because it could be more expensive over time. So, there's a lot of ways we can create buying. And that goes back to, I think, the first thing I said when we sat down, which is, do you have a plan? And that's where it starts.
And if I could add, in the broker world, it's not like you're going to a big stock company like Goldman Sachs and whatnot. In this business, the brokers they work for the energy companies. Well, maybe they work off site, but they maybe work exclusively just for them. Okay, 1 or 2. Not everything's. Each utility area has a wide range of folks that can be used in what they call their pool, especially on natural gas. They may just work for one. That's it. And what you get with that particular avenue in the broker world in energy, and I know Anthony would agree, and so would a lot of people that we talk with, is that their job is to sell the customer one product, the risk. And usually when they're talking, it is the daily price. There's no strategy. I don't know if clients or people out there know this that participate in natural gas transportation or can, is that natural gas and electricity is a stock. That's all it is. You can look, if you don't like the price today, and this is my department, the branch, and Anthony's too, is we watch this 24 hours a day, 6 days a week. And unless the market's closed, we have staff that does that. Is maybe you don't like the price in January of that year. Maybe it looks better for you. Maybe you've got an agreement that ends in May. You don't want to wait until April when it's cold and then redo an agreement. You want to look further out when the stock market dips and say, okay, we can alert you. We have a proprietary system to alert you on a text, is what most people prefer. And say, hey, you're within 3 cents of your price that you wanted on your particular strategy. Wouldn't you agree there, Anthony? He can add to that because he's the one that invented that many, many, many years ago, that system.
Yeah, and part of the problem is the customer doesn't know what he wants. I mean, that's, I think, the one thing we try to stress is give me a number. What works for you? Like if we're below a number, are you happy? And unfortunately, a lot of clients don't know that, and that's what we try to get to. And we're gonna have to re-educate these people, because over the last 4 years, it's just been cheap, right? We haven't had to do much.
Or they've never transported before in their
because
area.
the utility was cheap, right? The
Yeah.
utility rates were cheap, but like he said, when utilities get hit with charges, they're losing money, and they have to get that cost recouped over time. So their rates will go up, and they will stay up over time, where ours will continue to fluctuate up and down. And if we buy into the dips, you'll be a pretty happy customer.
Call us toll free at 877-505-3851. We answer the phone 24 hours a day, except for holidays, in which the stock market is closed. We're closed on Sundays, of course. Our email address is support@commercialenergymidwest.com.